So this morning is a lot colder than usual. This is the first pour that we've tried to do below freezing. It's 22 degrees right now. The max for today is 32, but the sun's out and it wasn't really supposed to be out according to the forecast, but I see blue skies, so I think it'll stay out for a while and I think we'll be above freezing. So this should be a pretty easy pour. I only have a 12-foot screed board. So what I came up with here, I put this strip here at exactly the level I need it for screeding. And we're gonna start at the bottom and we're gonna screed this little spot right here. And then we're gonna kind of go like this around, using that to pivot on, and the screed board will just keep fanning around like that. That way we're not trying to wet screed anything. Wet screeding works really well for stuff that's flat, but being that this is sloped, it's not gonna be easy to do that. Because as you get a wet screed mark and then you start working it, it'll fall down. So that doesn't really work. You can see I got some insulation on the valley here, giving a nice separation for thermal expansion and contraction. I personally think that we don't even really need to vibrate this stuff that much because gravity is like making it flow. As soon as you put it in there, it's like smearing itself down, which is settling it at the same time. We probably don't need to vibrate anything, honestly, but we're still gonna keep doing it. You can't get much straighter than that. I'm really happy with the results. The crease in this valley is sharp. To be honest, I didn't think we could even get it this good. So the plan for right now, just to get this waterproof just for now, is I'm gonna let this set up a couple days, and then I'm gonna take that rapid set cementol and just put some right in the middle here, like just a little bit, just to seal up that edge. That should be waterproof enough for now until it gets to better weather where I can put the waterproofing on. Because I don't want to start putting that waterproofing on and have it fail because it's too cold. So I'll just put a few inch swath going down through here with the Cementol. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be waterproof enough for now. Surprisingly, this is the first pour that we've done where it's not dark when we're done. Now we're just waiting for this to set up, and then we can put the concrete blanket on it. I'm going to cordon off this area underneath with some tarps or some plastic, and then I'm going to put a heater in there so that the beams get heated, because this valley beam and this ridge beam here could freeze tonight. It's supposed to get down in the 20s. So with the concrete blanket on top, that takes care of everything on top, but underneath the beam could freeze. So I need some heat on that. I just put those blocks on there. They're the PVC trim pieces to space the rebar off the EPS. I used the Gorilla Glue construction adhesive, but you really got to let that set up overnight. So while I let that set up, we're going to get going on the framing for this shed dormer here. We're going to use 2x12s on 16-inch centers, and we got to frame out because there's 2 skylights. So we'll just put a ledger board on that side, and on this side the rafters will rest on the steel I-beam. All the weight will be mostly on the flange, the lower flange. So we're all set to pour this section here. This will be the last pour with the crane, and then we can finally move that out of the way. Takes up a lot of space there. That screed guide worked really good last time. I'm gonna do the same thing. We finally got it to a point where we're not changing things every time. We got a method established for everything. The only difference is this time we ran out of that mix that was in those big bags. So I got a couple pallets there. We got like maybe 3/4 of a yard left in the hopper, and then we'll use those pallets. I know we'll need at least one full one, 42 bags. We'll probably need half of the other one. So we'll see how that goes compared to the bags where it's easy to just unload it. I think it's not going to be that much harder though. We'll put the grate back on the mixer, just break the bag right over top of it. This time I put this OSB here with the rough side up. It grips a little bit better than the concrete. It's more consistent in that you just get good grip the whole time. We got that little railing on the bottom just in case. We got this little section framed up right here for the other side, just so we can have something to walk on here. That way we could take down the pipe scaffolding. That's looking really good. That is super flat. So I'm ready to move this crane out of here. This thing has been in the way for way too long now. And I'm ready to get that hopper out of here too. And the boom lift can get out of here because we're done with this side of the roof. So everything is back there. Now on this one, right quite a bit because I can't be.
Ain't that funny? Yeah.
All right, go.
I can't move.
What do you mean you can't move?
Oh god. Yeah, push me.
Oh, he's going the wrong way.
No, that was slow. That was
So this whole thing is going to get 3 inches of concrete on top of this EPS foam here. So I want to be able to use this buck as a screed guide, so that that's the exact level of the top of the concrete, so that we can screed from there to there, from there to there, from here to here. Everything will have a screed guide within 12 feet because I only have a 12-foot screed board. Having a nice screed guide is essential to doing any project like this. You don't want to try to wet screed anything. It doesn't work. We tried it. So you just make sure you have screed points everywhere, and then you're good. So to get this level, I made this sit a little bit lower than it needs to be, and then I just put little styrofoam shims on the side here and raised it up exactly to 3 inches. I just took a 2x4, I ripped it down to 3 inches, and then you just take it and put it like this, and then line it up, put the shim underneath, get it perfect. Like I would just do that point right there. And then because this has a joist here, it's kind of weird, but then you line this side up. And as long as all 4 corners are set, then you're good. So they just have little shims, so there's a little bit of space in there. So now I'll just take this great stuff foam and just fill in. Now everything is supported this way, as well as from racking or moving in any kind of way, because you don't want to be knocking this around and have your skylight out of square or something. So this adheres it so that that can't happen. And when you're going at an angle like this, it's getting a little bit of foam underneath of this buck right here. So this is all ready to pour. You can see I got a lot of steel around the perimeter of this skylight opening. Basically what we did is made a rafter out of each part. So that was already a rafter there. So I had 2 number 4s on the bottom with stirrups, and then 1 number 4 on the top. That basically forms the joist. So we also formed another joist going in between them. So I got 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and the piece on the bottom is bent that way, piece on the top is bent that way. And then we have this rafter going in here. There's 2 number 4s on the bottom, one's bent one way, one's bent the other way. So everything has a bend going around. See that? And this one is like bent around here on the top. It's bent around like that, and then on the bottom it's bent going this way. Basically the idea is there's a top bar and there's a bottom bar, and I alternated between which way it would bend when it gets to the end of them. So again, it's kind of complicated, but once I did the first one, it was easy. I just replicated it for the second one, and it was actually fairly simple once I got the idea down. So these are 10-inch build bucks, and at a 12-foot span, which this is actually like 11.5-foot span here, at a 12-foot span, it can handle up to a 300-pound per square foot load on it. So snow load here is 55 pounds per square foot. So we still have 250 pounds per square foot available after the snow load. And that's why we don't need to double up these rafters like you normally would with framing. You would normally put a double or triple there and then go in between it. But because these rafters hold way more than they need to, they can support everything going this way. Plus, the skylight doesn't weigh near as much as the concrete there. So that's actually lost weight there, not gained. So the pump truck is here. And if you guys remember, when we poured the second floor walls, we had a problem with the pump. But this is the original guy that was pumping everything before that last time, and he's always done really good. I'm glad to see him back. I'm sure we won't have any problems. So this should go pretty smooth because we're not dealing with mixing the concrete or getting it up here or anything. Now I can be on the roof and I can help. And we don't have to get up and down a million times. There's a lot of things about this that make it so much better than all the other pours. We are using about 7 yards of concrete. So as an emergency precaution, I'm putting a 2x4 underneath of each rafter here on the bottom.
this. Let me just do this for a second.
Yeah.
Now I can run it right like that.
Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you try to do that just up here and let it ooze down?
Yep.
Huh?
Not really.
No.
I'll just try not to take it right with me. Just tell me where you...
Why don't you go over the edge?
How's that?
Yeah. Perfect. Right on the side. Yep. Just flick it. Hold on. Just flick it. right, well, we got it screeded out. I still need to do a little work to it, but for the most part, it is super flat. You can look down it and just see that it's just really flat. So that's really the only thing that matters. All these imperfections in here, that'll get troweled out with the Cementol. So that's no big deal. It kind of got away from us a little bit. The accelerator really kicked it into high gear. I only put 1% non-chloride, but that was enough to really set this off quick. By the time we made it to this side, screened it out, I went back to here and I could barely bull float it, even with the rattlestick on there. So the only thing we can do with it now is just hand trowel it the best we can. But you can actually walk on it right now. We're just taking the bracing out underneath. We had a support underneath every rafter, just so that if we have too much concrete and too many people in one place, it doesn't fall down. But now that it's all evened out, I can take all them off, and then that puts the weight on the beam like it should. So now the weight from this roof is resting where it's gonna rest forever. So the weight's resting here and it's resting on that outer wall. But I'm gonna look at the beam underneath. I don't think there's any deflection in it at all, because according to my calculations, I got about less than 40,000 pounds on this beam right here. And it's good for like at least 120,000. So if there's like a 1/16 of an inch of deflection on it, it's probably a lot. This is a big span here, so I'm gonna put a joint in the middle tomorrow. I'm gonna saw cut a joint right in the middle here. That way, each side of that joint is only about 13 feet, which is really about the most that you want. Otherwise, as it's evaporating, it's shrinking and you end up with cracks, plus expansion and contraction with hot and cold. So if I put a control joint in the middle now, then I know where it's gonna crack, and I can cover that with the fiber and the elastomeric paint, which is like that mesh tape that you apply with the elastomeric paint, and it adheres it down. If I don't put the control joint in there, there'll probably be a crack, but it'll be like all weird looking, and I'd rather have just a straight line going down. We are gonna get rain tonight, and it's gonna dip down below freezing. So I'm gonna put the concrete blankets on. This is the ceiling downstairs to give you an idea of what it'll look like when it's done. Now this has little blobs of concrete, but that's because we use a lot of plasticizer, and we made this like a 7 slump, maybe even an 8. So therefore it was more runny and it ran down some of these cracks. Upstairs there's none of this because the concrete was much thicker, had a much lower slump. You can see there's no concrete coming through up here. It doesn't really matter though, because everything's getting furred down, and then either panels of wood or sheetrock is going to go on it, so none of that really matters. So originally I was supposed to have a little concrete wall right here, and that part of the roof would actually rest on it, But I just thought that that was a lot of weight, a lot of concrete there resting on that rafter. So I came up with a better idea just to fill that with solid glass there. I don't know how I'm gonna get that shaped. I may have to do something really custom, like just get the glass cut myself and then install it in a frame. Same thing with this one. And it looks deceiving because right now you're only seeing a little bit of light right there, but that rafter won't be there anymore. So it'll be opened up all the way up to there. I've never seen anybody fill that in with glass, but I'm sure it'll look really cool. I got all the other windows ordered. So in a few weeks I should get those. And now I got a lot of lumber where I can build something else. I've never seen anybody else use a buck for a skylight in a concrete roof. Actually, I've never even seen a skylight in a concrete roof. But so my final thoughts on this concrete roof is it's a lot of work. I can't tell you whether it would be worth it or not, but in this area, probably not, because I don't really have much for natural disasters or fires or anything like that. But I can imagine houses on the coast and any place that's prone to tornadoes, hurricanes, very high winds, earthquakes, and that sort of thing. I think any place that's prone to a disaster like that could really benefit from a roof like this. And if this roof was just a regular one pitch on both sides, that would be way quicker. Like, I don't even know, 4 times quicker. Having this design in the roof, the way I did it with valleys and dormers and stuff, that adds a lot of detail in the work. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you have some money to spend on guys that'll do that. Because this is kind of specialized, so you'd have a hard time finding people that would do this. I'm sure there's definitely people out there that would. I would do it, but I don't live in an area where many people would benefit from this kind of roof. But I wanted to break the ice on it to see what it was like, because I kind of wanted to see if I could pave a way for other people to do it where they would benefit from it, because there's a lot of areas that would benefit from this. There's a lot of people in the United States that live on the coast, and most of those areas could benefit from a roof like this. You know that you would never lose your house, no matter what happens. Floods are another thing too. I guess the roof doesn't have anything to do with that, but just having an ICF house or concrete house, you could benefit a lot from floods too. If you had some guys that had knowledge in construction and knowledge in concrete, and they either had a pump or a good connection with people with a pump truck or something, I'm sure that they could make it work. Because you kind of have to have knowledge from both worlds, the concrete world and the construction world, which is why I wanted to do this project, because I thought that this was something that I could really handle pretty good. And we handled it, it just took a long time. And I'm sure there's a lot of other guys out there that get their hands in both concrete and construction. And all it takes is just messing around, trying to find a method and double checking, triple checking everything to make sure everything's safe. Every one of these rafters had a 2x4 going from the middle down to the floor, just until it was poured and everybody was off of it, and then we removed them. Because the last thing you want is the concrete to be bunched up in one area and have a couple guys there as well, and then all of a sudden it's stressing that rafter out too much and it breaks or something. But once the concrete's all leveled out, this 10-inch build buck is about 60 pounds per square foot, and the 8-inch, which is on the rest of this, is about 50 pounds per square foot. That's how much the concrete weighs, and then you add a few pounds for rebar and a few pounds for the wood and the foam, but it doesn't really add much to that. So 55 pounds per square foot is easily the number you're looking for. But if you have a big bunch of concrete on one area and 2 or 3 guys standing there, then all of a sudden you could be up at like 100 pounds per square foot or more. So you want to make sure that whatever you're putting up can handle that. And you can see underneath of these rafters, we put these little jacks, which jacked up the rafter, as well as that little board behind it is also jacking up that ledger board there. We put a few holes through the ledger board into the other side. We bolted them, and then when we did the other side, we took the bolt off and put a lag screw through. But basically right now the bottom flange is holding everything together until these forms are removed, and then the top flange is taking the weight from there. You can look down the bottom flange of this big beam right here, this W27 by 84, and you can see that there is absolutely 0 deflection. I'm talking not even a 16th. So that beam was definitely overkill, but I feel good about it. because there's a lot of weight up there. There's a lot of weight, but there isn't. It's basically the same weight as a heavy snow load, which any roof around here should be able to handle anyways. At first I was pretty intimidated by everything because I was reading somewhere that it was like 100 pounds per square foot that the dead weight is for the concrete with the rebar and stuff. That's quite a bit, but I did the calculations myself and came to realize that it's really only half that. So once you start doing that, you can basically frame things the way you've always been framing them in your area. These are 2x12s on a 12-foot span, which is actually quite a bit overkill. I think it is a good thing for somebody like me to have a big project like this under my belt, because now I can incorporate this into future builds, and I don't have to do a whole house with this type of roof. I could just do certain parts of it, or even just the deck, the floor. I could use that to my advantage for basements. I think just having one room in your house that has a concrete roof could save your life if you're in a natural disaster. If you made the whole basement have a concrete deck on the top, then you could run for shelter under that first floor and you'd be safe from pretty much anything. Even if you framed the rest from there on up and everything was framed, the house could burn to the ground and you could be safe in that basement. Another idea is if you have like a little utility room like I do on the basement floor, and if you're really on a budget, you could just put a little concrete deck over top of that, put a fire-rated door on the other side, and then you could keep your family safe in whatever happens. Just putting a concrete deck on any part of your house and having a safe room is something that's manageable for pretty much any house that's being built. I think I mentioned before that I didn't necessarily need to do the second floor with the build deck, but the way it happened with my engineered plans, it was really hard to get that changed. And I actually was going to change that. I was going to do maybe metal joists, or if that even got complicated, I'd just do wood framing. But with the way things happened with my plans, I couldn't get that changed for a long time, and it delayed the house for like a year. So I just went ahead and did the second floor with the build deck, and there's insulation underneath of it, which really doesn't serve a lot of purpose. But it's also kind of neat to say that anything that's structural in this house is concrete. Nothing is bearing on any wood anywheres. That's kind of neat to say that, which if the second floor was wood framed, I couldn't say that. So the places that I will have some wood, I'm probably going to do the stairs with wood. I don't like the idea of steel just because it's a lot easier for kids to get hurt on that. I'm also going to do all the interior framing with wood. I'm not going to mess around with metal studs. And I'm probably going to have some wood paneling in at least the master bedroom, if not more. Interior walls on this are not structural. There's not even any in there right now. So that makes it easy when you go to reconfigure things down the line. So there's been a lot of questions about what I'm going to put on top of this roof. So the answer is it's an elastomeric paint, and basically it's a stretchable kind of paint. So it's flexible, doesn't crack. I'm going to coat this with a thin layer of Cementol that's made by Rapid Set, and I'll use the reinforcement fabric that goes with it for the valleys, as well as the roof to the wall flashing. So pretty much the whole outside of this house is the same thing. It's kind of like a stucco. I'm probably going to end up using the Cementol on the outside of this house too, with fiber mesh. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to do when it gets warm out, which really isn't far away. It's like a month away. But that gives me a month to go inside and do a bunch of work in there. And right now it makes sense to go inside and do all the electrical and plumbing and do the bathroom and kitchen and stuff. So I got a lot of really neat things lined up for this year. Even besides this house, there's a lot of other things that I got going on. But I'm going to keep chugging along at the inside of this house for now and get this done just as quick as possible, because the other things are like I'm biting at the bit to get to. But I have a lot of variations of all different kinds of things coming up, so I'll see you guys on some of those videos.